You might not be able to guess it by looking at me, but I'm actually a pretty big Disney person. I watch pretty much all of the Disney movies. Disney has created some of my favorite movies of all time. I'm pretty much always there to see the new film that has come out. Their impact on the animation industry cannot be overstated. Not only did Walt Disney create the very first animated cartoon with sound ever, not only did he save his own company and kickstart feature-length animated films with Snow White, he also kinda created the Japanese animation industry with his work inspiring Osamu Tezuka, who was the father of Japanese animation, and whose style in anime is very much inspired by Walt Disney. So Disney Animation's impact on animation cannot be overstated. And their impact on all of us cannot be overstated. I'm pretty sure all of us grew up with the original Disney films, whether it's from the Golden Age or from the Renaissance period. So this year, its 100th anniversary of such an influential studio should be a pretty big deal, but it doesn't appear that Disney is celebrating it in the right way. As has been pointed out on Twitter, this was pretty much the weakest slate of films that they've ever put out, at least in recent memory. Indiana Jones, The Marvels, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So many films Disney has put out this year, so many productions, and I can't really think of a production that they put out that was really a massive hit. I guess you could say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Apart from that, I think Elemental is the only other notable success where it kind of had a bounce back after a soft opening weekend. But now we have Wish, and this is from Disney Animation Studios proper, not from Pixar, not from Marvel. So this film is meant to be their big celebration of their company on its 100-year anniversary. It's supposed to represent everything positive that the company is supposed to be about. So it must be pretty frightening for Disney to see it get one of their lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores ever. But I just watched the movie myself, and I'm going to discuss here, is it as bad as critics say? Both absolutely yes and no. I can completely understand why they gave it such a low score, because this is just such a problematic film on so many levels, where I think it was made with good intentions. I think that it was made with a lot of consideration for the history of Disney and their productions, but it just collapses in execution. Now, the number one problem with this film is the script, and it can be a little complicated to explain unless you've seen the movie, but I'm going to try to explain. For 100 years or so, Disney has had this theme. It's a very optimistic, innocent, simple theme. It's that you should achieve your dream, that a dream is a very important thing, and that you should go out and try to make it happen. And they've always portrayed this in a very innocent way, kind of trying to look at the best of people and the best that they can achieve. Now, this theme has been woven around subtly through a lot of their films. In fact, usually a Disney movie will be about a protagonist in a bad situation, or dissatisfied with their life, or feeling that they don't have a place that they belong, and going out and finding their place or finding a better life for themselves, etc. Now, Wish tries to make its movie exactly about the theme, and the way it does it is it's very, very on the nose. All of the mechanics of this movie play into that theme. For example, when you get into the film, the premise of this movie is that there is a town called Rosas, and each of the inhabitants has a certain wish that gives them life and makes them who they are. And by their 18th birthday, they are asked to give up that wish, and it may or may not be granted by the king, which he decides whether they will or not be by what he thinks is best. Essentially, he doesn't grant the wishes that threaten him. So a lot of people were coming after this film and criticizing it, saying, isn't the bad guy the good guy, knowing that not every wish can be granted, that not every wish is good? Well, the movie takes a much more simplistic take than that. It does not portray the wishes as bad things. It's always stuff like, well, this person wants to fly, or this person wants to make great music, or something like that. And that is, the theme it's going for is not that you should get everything that you want. The theme it's going for is actually freedom, free will versus authoritarianism, because the king decides what is best for everyone and what everybody should be able to even try to do. And the movie is arguing that people should have the ability to make their own decisions with what they want to pursue in life. And so it is not a bad theme. Once again, the problem is how on the nose it is, because watching the film, I'm like, okay, how does that work? Somebody's wish is this bubble that comes out of them, and is something that they can forget if it's taken away, and if it's crushed, then their soul is crushed. And once again, it's playing into that theme about how important wishes in real life and dreams in real life are, but it's so on the nose in the movie, as it's trying to also be the mechanics and logic of the film, that it just doesn't make sense. And yes, it's all magic, so there should be some leeway where it doesn't have to be completely logical, logical, but it got to the point where none of it was making sense. And the movie will just introduce all these concepts and not really develop them fully before moving on to some other concept that it introduces, like the wishing star comes down, and I wish that it would have been better set up for how Asha wishes on the star and how that works, because it just comes down from the heavens and starts throwing all this magic around and making animals talk and all that kind of stuff. And then there's a song, and this is where the movie lost me, because I was enjoying it in the beginning, and then it lost me where there's a song about how actually everyone is a star and everyone has hope inside of them, and that really comes into play later on. And once again, it's like all of these themes that Disney has tried to portray throughout their films spelled out very on the nose, and it kind of sacrifices the logic of the story in order to get these things out. And once again, you could tell that the intentions were in the right place, but everything is underdeveloped, everything is underbaked. The characters, I thought, really needed more development, especially the king. I wasn't really understanding why he became so evil. I understand that he fears losing his power because of his upbringing, but he goes to some really dark places, and he goes from someone who's able to put on this facade to someone who is insecure and just falls apart in a second. And so I wanted more development on him. I wanted more development on the main character, because there's been some discussion recently about how Disney is kind of making the same Disney princess that's just the adorable character over and over again. And Asha is slightly different. She's still a quirky princess, but she has this revolutionary aspect to her. And I'm like, okay, I want it to be developed why she has that aspect when no one else does, but it never was. And that's the real problem of the movie, is once again, very on the nose, and it just underdevelops a lot of stuff, and it just moves up to the next thing and the next thing, and just leaves so much underdeveloped. Speaking of on the nose, there are a lot of references to Disney stuff in this movie, and some of it is fun, but some of this is like, like the bear who talks is named John, and the deer he makes friends with name is Bambi. We see Thumper in the movie. We see somebody creating a dress, and it's the dress from Sleeping Beauty. Asha's friends are patterned off the Seven Dwarfs. Asha is wearing the fairy godmother's gown and is using a wand near the end, and it's even implied she becomes the fairy godmother. Valentino, her goat who can talk, mentions that he wants to find a great advanced city of talking animals like Zootopia. And I think some of the stuff is fun in the movie, but others, it's like you literally see Peter Pan in the movie, and that just got to be too much for me. And meanwhile, we have to talk about the animation and the music. The animation did not work for me in this movie. I get what they're trying to do, and people have been arguing back and forth with the fans in it that they're trying to make it look like a storybook, but to me, it just seemed like a cop-out, because I'm like, you look like a storybook if it was patterned off of a CGI Disney movie, and that made it look weird to me. It's like, it couldn't pick a lane, and I couldn't really enjoy it. Like, either just do a CG 3D animated movie like you've always done, or better still, what I think that they should have done with this movie, since it's supposed to be a culmination of all the projects they've worked on, you need to go back to 2D animation, hand-drawn animation. When you did that in Once Upon a Time in the Studio, it looked amazing, and I wish that they would have done that in this movie. And the animation, honestly, there wasn't a moment that I really liked for it, because it just looked really odd to have it be 3D animated characters, but a like 2D filter over them. It just did not work for me in the least. And the music, I was very disappointed with. It's not terrible, it's just that the villain song and many of the songs sung throughout the film, they just have very generic lyrics. And one of the things I look forward to when I get a Disney movie is, are there going to be more songs in this film that I'm going to really enjoy? But if you just listen to some of the lyrics of this song, of these songs, it's just incredibly generic. You've heard, it's like you took various themes and words from other Disney songs and general ideas and just made them into songs, and they weren't very memorable. Ariana DeBose, I think that's how you pronounce her name, does a great job as Asha. I just wish that she had more to her. So at the end of the day, Wish is not a movie that I hate. I pretty much liked watching it. I could just see all the flaws as I watched it, though. It's one of those movies that is not a disaster, but it's kind of like what Disney was going through in their dark ages after Walt Disney died, and they were short on money, where a lot of those films just weren't up to par, but you might be able to find something out of it that's enjoyable. But this has to be a wake-up call for Disney, though. This is their one. This is not what you want for Disney's 100th anniversary, is my point. And while I think that little girls will really like this movie, what was great about Disney is they had movies that appealed to everyone. And right now, they're not producing things on that level whatsoever. Like, Tangled is like a million miles above this movie, or even Frozen, which a lot of people have come to dislike. I still really like Frozen, and that is just miles above this movie in terms of just how it handles its characters, how it develops its story concepts, and how it's able to have depth in a proper way, not just throwing out these themes, spelling them out, and just having that be your movie. And so I understand the critic score, but once again, big wake-up call for Disney. They need to do so much better than this, because what put them on top of Disney animation, it was their story structure. It was that sort of magic that they were able to weave through their stories rather than just spell out blatantly. And I just really hope that they go back to that. It speaks volumes when my favorite part of a film was the ending credits, where we got to see like little glitter sparkle characters from each of Disney animated movies throughout the years, and you remember all of the wonderful movies and characters that Disney has produced. But I doubt that this movie is really honoring that or going forward with that. I think that Disney is probably considerably in another dark age right now, and they need, I think that they're going to know that something's wrong, but it's anyone's guess anytime soon if they're going to be able to fix this. But that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoy your holiday weekend, and I will see you guys next time.